Welcome to another fabulous episode of Conscious Roots TV, y'all. I am Nady.
And I'm Porscha, and together we co-founded Conscious Roots LLC, dedicated to helping everyone live a more inclusive and less oppressive life.
Before we even go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe button right below this video because you don't want to miss a minute of any of this content. New episodes come out every single Thursday.
Yes. So what are we diving into today, Nady?
Ooh, it's getting real, which you may have noticed from this title. It might have given you the sweats, if you will. It's how to talk to your BFF about race, class, power, and privilege.
Yes, big deal stuff, y'all. I got a little sweaty myself just typing out that title. All right, so it might be a little bit intimidating for some of you, but stick with us because you know we got you. In our work, we've talked with a lot of people who actually feel more prepared to deal with certain situations at work or public or whatever, because the boundaries at work are a little bit more clear.
Right. It gets really tricky with your friend groups because perhaps you have some BFFs that you've known since you were 5. You've been on this journey together for almost your entire life. Or maybe you have friends that you made that you're really close to through an event or a challenge that you encountered together.
Yeah, something I've noticed in my own life is I've got friends I made before I started to pay more attention to the world around me and really tackle what power and privilege looks like, not only on the large scale, but also on a smaller personal one.
Right. Oh my goodness. I myself grew up in a rural town of Minnesota. You can anticipate that town was very white. And we did not have discussions about race or power. We did have some discussions around class because it was a rural community and most of my friends were farmers. But yeah, like it was very insular. Those conversations didn't come up. And so flash forward 35 years later, there's a lot to unpack, as you might imagine. Yeah. So odds are you've been on social media, especially with the stay-home mandate, or perhaps when we were able to be in person before, you could have heard a friend say something iffy or eyebrow-raising, or that just you knew was wrong.
Yep, and goodness, while you were saying that, I had multiple instances pop up right in my head.
My gosh, I see 2 different camps here. Sometimes friends say stuff they don't even know is offensive. They just say it and they don't think that there's a problem with it because they just don't know. Or friends might be like, ooh, I want to be edgy and push the boundaries here. And they say something for those reasons. Either way, it's just no, thank you.
Exactly. So, all right, what do we do if our friend says something problematic in our presence?
My gosh, Porscha, I'm so glad you asked. The number one thing to do, you got to prepare ahead of time. People are people. They're going to say stuff that they might not have thought through, or that they might not know is problematic, or that they want to get a rise out of somebody for. So you've got to prepare ahead of time. So those of you who have either listened to our radio show for a while or who have been watching all of our episodes, you know that we love to suggest
a role play? Yeah,
that's right. We love a role play. Number one, because it gets to put us both on a stage, and who doesn't love to be on a stage, right? Am I right? I mean, both of us have pretty strong improv backgrounds. But also, when it for real now, when it comes to discussing really tough things for the first time ever, you don't want to just jump into it without having thought through it first.
Exactly. So you might talk it out with a partner or pet, or just aloud with yourself. Just make sure that you practice so you can be ready when these things do come up.
The next one really just depends on the situation itself. So you got to decide if you're going to, in the moment, call out that comment in front of everyone, or if you feel like it's better to pull that person aside privately as soon as you're able to and chat about it with them then.
Yeah, and if you decide on the latter, it is really important, imagine bold and underlines here, to tackle the issue in a timely fashion.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. So that the situation, first of all, still feels relevant to you and your bestie, and your friend can remember exactly what was said.
Precisely. Now, we're going to take a little time out here.
Ooh.
Because it is never, ever, 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 ever the responsibility of the person who is marginalized to educate anybody or address these toxic problems and these oppressive comments with that person.
Exactly. So in this case, what we're more talking about is addressing your close friends, the people you know who will likely listen to you if you bring something up to them. And the odds are, if this person is your BFF, you'll not only feel more comfortable talking to them about this stuff, but also they'll be more receptive because of how much they care about you.
Exactly. And one way to do this is so great. You're just going to question the words themselves. So you could go, so somebody says something really problematic or maybe a racist joke or something. You could be like, what does that mean?
I love it. This is my favorite move. I have to be honest, Nady. I love feigning it.
I've watched you do this many a time.
You know, listen, sometimes that alone is enough to get it to click with somebody as they're thinking of how to answer that question. Like, oh, that thing I said is kind of messed up.
Perhaps you want to go a little bit more direct in your approach. You could just go all in and say, I don't think what you said is funny. Or, I don't think you're aware of this, but that's actually a slur. And now, of course, it depends on the relationship, but you could just drive it home.
I love that. Either way, whichever one you choose, make sure that you explain what was actually wrong with a comment.
Yes.
Because your goal here is less about the exact words that they chose and more about the toxic ideas that comment is based on, right? So you wouldn't want them to walk away knowing, I can't say that particular word or joke, but that other related comments are just fine.
And you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to be silent, because your silence means that you're complicit with whatever just happens. It's going to make that friend who made whatever offensive slur, comment, racist joke think that you agreed with them. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah. And listen, if you choose to pull them aside privately later, you might, for example, open up with something like, I wanted to talk to you about the comment that you made when we were at the party yesterday, that virtual party yesterday. You said X, Y, and Z, and it really bothered me. Those words have racist connotations. And I know you, and I know you don't want to be perceived that way.
What I love about how Porscha just explained this is that she used factual statements about what happened. Notice she didn't use the words themselves. You don't have to say the thing. Just give enough of a reference point so that your friend actually knows what you're referring to in the first place. And then explain what the problem is that you have and that society at large has with how racist and offensive it was.
Absolutely. And do your best to address the comment and not the person. So people tend to be more receptive when you help them understand why the words themselves were problematic, rather than feeling like you consider them to be problematic.
So true. And no matter what, make your boundaries and expectations clear. So stand really firm on your point. And this is going to be tough for some of us out there, but make them know that you won't tolerate that kind of talk. Even no matter how much you love them, I invite you to see this as an act of love towards them.
Oh, I love that. Seeing it as an act of love. Something that I also do in tough situations is I imagine that people I really respect are watching this interaction happen.
Ooh, and that's great.
Well, what would I want them to see me do? And how would I want them to see me react? That kind of thing?
That's powerful.
And unfortunately, y'all, let's be real. It might turn out that your friend is not as receptive to this criticism as you hoped or believed that they would be. And in that case, you can say something like, don't tell these types of jokes around me anymore. If you do, I'm going to have to, this is an example, cut off the conversation if it happens again, or limit my time around you, whatever you feel comfortable saying. Just make it clear that no matter what they think about your comment or their comments and how you feel about them, that you want no part of it.
This is where it's really tough, y'all. So this can illuminate some instances where perhaps this friendship could be better left in the past. And that's really, really hard, especially when it's a person that you've maybe been friends with for a decade or more. And it could be illuminating in that moment to realize, gosh, we seem to be growing in different directions. We're on different paths. It doesn't mean that you have to forget what they meant to you. It doesn't mean that you have to forget the memories that you made together that are really special. It doesn't mean that you have to completely dislike them and troll them every chance that you get. But what it does mean is that you have to let go. You have to let go of the friendship and just recognize that you're in different places right now and that that's okay.
Yeah. And if you really want to walk the walk, it's important that you try to help folks understand. But if your friend is committed and more committed to their problematic commentary than they are about being thoughtful and inclusive, it would probably be best to limit your time engaging with them from now on.
Wow. My goodness, I am sweating in my leopard jumpsuit right now. We know that was a whole lot, and we both deeply hope that you feel a lot more confident in addressing these kinds of tricky situations around race, class, power, and privilege with your BFFs moving forward.
Yes. And we also know that there are so many situations that are a little bit more complicated or nuanced to figure out than what we covered. So feel free to DM us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Conscious Roots LLC, or you can email us at consciousrootsllc@gmail.com to share your own stories and experiences with this.
Also, head over to our website. We'll give you one guess as to what that address is. It's consciousrootsllc.com. And on our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. We drop some pretty hot tips every week on Tuesday, so you definitely want to be in that number to get those newsletters and stay in the know, and also to learn more about how you could work with us in the future. Shameless!
Ooh, I love it. Speaking of shameless, we also have a Patreon account, so check us out, patreon.com/ConsciousRootsLLC. Don't worry, we will include all of these links below.
Yes. And as always, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being you.